If you are a student of camping and outdoor history, you may be familiar with a man named George Washington Sears, sometimes called Nessmuk. And he was a writer, I think in the 1800s, who wrote about the outdoors and camping and woodcraft and stuff. And one of the things he advocated was carrying a double bit axe or hatchet, so you could have one side for rough stuff and the other side for fine stuff, basically. Well, in today's Sharp Saturday video, we're going to take a look at a modern version of that from the folks at APOC. The APOC Double Mukk Hatchet Duo Grind. That's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for trustworthy information and gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name is Brian. Thanks for joining me for another Sharp Saturday video. And let me just say right up front, thanks to the folks at Big Daddy Unlimited for making these videos possible for Sharp Saturday. If you're not familiar with Big Daddy Unlimited, just go to survivalonpurpose.com/BDU. Then you'll have to click on one more link because YouTube doesn't let me put links to people that sell those evil, nasty things that go bang. But that's a way you can really save some great money on the kind of gear that we buy every day. And if you stick around and like the membership and continue it, they'll throw me a couple of bucks, so it's a win-win for everybody. So I appreciate it. Anyway, the folks at Cast Iberia, who are the distributors for the APOC line of knives and swords and now hatchets, were kind enough to send me this so I can show it to you. And as you can see, basically it is a double bit full tang hatchet, and there are two different grinds on it, so pretty cool. So without me rambling on, let's just get down to the old stump top and we'll talk about the specs of this thing, and then we'll get to doing some of that hatchet stuff. You know we're going to get all scientific on this one, don't you? Okay, here's the APOC Double Mukk Hatchet Duo Grind. And let's talk about the specs of this thing real quick, and then we'll get to doing some axe stuff. So first of all, this is a full tang, one piece of about 6mm thick 9260 spring steel with the rock roll hardness in the low 50s, which is kind of what you want for something you're going to beat on. It's 12 inches long with an 8-inch handle of G10 handles, and it's the blades are 2 3/4 inches of cutting surface, weighs 1 pound 8 ounces, and it's about 99 bucks MSRP, or somewhere between 75 and 90 bucks online, depending on where you find it. It features two different grinds, and you can kind of see that. You can see that this grind is a little higher than this grind. See, it's a little wider here. It looks like there's not a lot of difference, but you can tell, and you can sort of see from the end that this one is a little flatter, a little longer than this. This is a very convex grind on this side for chopping dry wood or splitting or just, you know, limbing and knots and stuff. And then this one is a lot less. It's still slightly convex, but it's almost flat, and that's for doing really fine work and carving and stuff like that. So. And it feels like this is pretty sharp here. We're going to check that out too. And then it has a kind of a little bit of an barely exposed pommel here. So if you're trying to like get a tent stake started or something like that, you get it started like that, and then you can just drive it in with a flat. Because I know I use axes and hatchets to drive tent stakes all the time. So anyway, without any further ado, let's get to doing some of that hatchet stuff. So I got a piece of oak here. It's been chopped on a little bit, and got a knot right there. I'm going to go ahead and cut that knot off. And then we're going to try to chop this in two and see what I can do. Or at least do a little chopping on it and see how well it works. So you want to try that? Let's do it. Not too bad. I mean, this is really hard wood. I think it's pin oak, but all I know is it's stinking hard. So what about splitting? So there's nothing, you can't baton this one, obviously. You have to just split it normally. And just without any way to prop this up, let's see if I can make it flat on bottom. Probably not gonna make it stand up. All right, you wanna try it? Let's try it. Okay, there's one split. All right. All right, so it'll split up some smaller firewood. It's not a big axe. So, but it's got this other side here that you can use for carving. Now you got to be careful right there. You can't really choke up on this like you can a regular bearded axe, because you still got that edge right there that can bite you. So you got to be careful with that. But I'd say you can choke up about this far with it. And let's see if it'll carve any feathers on this horrible to carve oak. So let's just see how well this thing, oh man, it carves, it is carving pretty stinking good, especially if you kind of go as a slicing motion. So here's a piece of softer wood. Let's see how well it does. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's just like, it's carving off wafers. In my opinion, both the edges work pretty good for carving. Now I will say that based on what little bit I've read from Nessmuk, his concept was to have one edge for roots and getting in the dirt and just grubbing stuff, like, you know, whatever you need to do, digging, grubbing, whatever. So it didn't really matter how sharp it stayed. And the other edge was for actual wood cutting. Both of these seem to cut wood pretty well. Let me just see how well this works right here with the finer edge. And look how cleanly that cut. It cut very, very clean. So they both seem to do that pretty well. I think I like the concept of maybe making a grubbing edge and a carving edge, or chopping edge, because I think this one, this side will chop pretty well. And a matter of fact, let's just do a little bit of chopping with the fine edge and see what happens. I can tell you if it feels like any better to me. And it honestly feels about the same. Just messing with it. I'm not gonna chop through this whole thing again, but it feels about the same. So I think there's not that big a difference that I can tell between these two edges. There's definitely a difference, but it's not huge. So finally, you know where we're going, right? We got to do a little fatwood stuff, because I got some fatwood laying here. And first I'm gonna use the more convex edge, and we're gonna try to just carve some fatwood off of here. Now let me use the finer edge and see if it makes a difference. Oh yeah, you can tell. You can tell it makes a difference on this, especially on this resiny wood, because it's just curling up that fat wood. Look at it curl it up. Oh yeah, so okay. So you can tell a difference there. But let's see if it'll scrape. Now scraping something, I don't know, you know, might almost have to do this right here. Maybe even pushing down. I think you push down with it like that, you can probably get some scraping going. Look at that. Yeah, but you got to be careful, because this has got two sharp edges on it, and you don't want to get either one of those in contact with your body. So, not bad there. You know where we're going next, right? Try this other edge. There we go. So, I got my trusty Exotac Fire Rod XL. Let's see if it'll scrape some sparks off the ferrite rod. Actually, since we got a grubbing blade and a regular blade, we can just do this, right? And I don't think it hurt the blade at all, and it works really, really well if you just kind of scrape down on it just a little bit. There you go. Okay, well that was some of the hatchet stuff with the APOC double Mukk Hatchet duo grind. And just to kind of recap, I think that I couldn't tell a significant difference between the functionality of the edges. Certainly I think this edge is a little more convex than this edge, but they both seem to do okay carving wise. This one carved just a little bit better. Try to strike a ferrite rod with that end. It's probably not designed for that, but it sort of did okay. Honestly, I think you'd be okay just striking it with this blade. I know they stated that one side is for use for more splitting and chopping dry wood, and the other one's for green wood and carving. In my opinion, I think Nessmuk's original intent for this is probably a better utilization of these two different blades. If you got to get into roots and cut into dirt, and just use one of them to beat it to pieces and don't worry about it, and keep the other one nice and sharp for chopping. I think that's probably going to be more useful than trying to make such a fine distinction between what kind of wood you're carving and all that. Because honestly, they'll both split just fine, and once you get there's that much difference between the shoulder on them, so once you get up to here, the thickness is the same. So I think at this weight, it could be a handy little thing to have, just so you wind up with having something you can get in the dirt and still have a good edge. That's the original concept behind Nessmuk's double bit hatchet, and I think it still stands today. So having said all that, you know, we would be remiss if we didn't do some scientific testing on this thing. And as luck would have it, we happen to maintain a scientific cutting-edge knife testing, blade testing facility here at Survival on Purpose Worldwide headquarters. So what do you know? We can do that. And what we like to do to all bladed implements, at least most of them, is test the aerodynamic balance by putting them onto the balance, orientation, and rotation device. So let's try that with this. Now, I don't know, I haven't had that much success with some of these axes and hatchets testing them aerodynamically, even though they seem to be okay. But what the heck, let's try it and see. You want to? See? Shall we go again? Maybe I need to go whoop, 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 whoop. I think maybe I over-rotated and hit flat. Get a little bit closer. Oh, hey, look at there. Finally. I guess the third time's the charm. Let's see. Whoop, 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 whoop. Once more, just once more. That's it. Either it's going to pass or fail. Okay, it passed. This thing stuck. I mean, like, it is almost flat. So, but it stuck. So there you go. We're going to give this one a balance, a check on the balance box. So, APOC double Mukk hatchet. I think that's what it's called. I'll put a link to this below. Thanks again to the folks at Cast Iberia for sending me this. And final words, final thoughts about this. I think it's pretty cool. I think in my mind, the big benefit is not having two different carving edges, is having, again, an edge you can just mess up and get dirty and not worry about, and still have something to keep clean, which is a handy thing to have. It's full tang, it's going to be strong, and it's pretty lightweight, so it could be a reasonable addition to a bug out bag. And I guess in the end, you know, if you had to, you know, it could be a reasonable defensive weapon, so, because it's going to cut both ways. So, you know, if the zombies attack, you can be ready. So anyway, I will stop rambling. As always, thanks for watching Survival on Purpose. I put out a brand new video every Friday and Saturday, sometimes random videos throughout the week. If you want to make sure you don't miss a single one, just in case things go sideways here during the cancel culture era here in the U.S., I invite you to go to survivalonpurpose.com/subscribe. Get connected with my weekly email newsletter. Every week I'll send you an email with links to videos and old videos and information and deals and offers and whatever else I think you might be interested in that week. And it will allow us to stay in touch, and I can tell you where I have to move my content to if I have to move my content. So I really appreciate your support. Once again, my name's Brian. You are watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.